The following presentation was made possible by the Alltech Media Group, a Southern California multimedia company providing exponential branding and marketing services to all their clients. The Alltech Media Group understands the value of the 3W strategy, providing their clients proven, trackable results. Let us make it easy for you to grow your business. Visit alltechmedia.com.
It's my high honor and pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker this morning, who assumed command of the Naval Surface Warfare Center Corona Division in November of 2011. As commanding officer, he leads over 2,000 sailors, Navy civilians, and support contractors in Corona's critical mission as the independent assessment agent responsible for gauging warfighting capability of U.S. ships and aircraft. The center also generates an estimated $300 million economic impact to our region and provides 1,500 local civilian and contractors with high-tech and high-wage jobs. Please join me in giving a Riverside welcome to the Naval Surface Warfare Corona Division Captain Eric Verhaag.
It will be sweet. I love that. You do have good spirit here, I got to tell you. I get to spend a lot of time with a lot of different cities, and you do have something special here. I got to tell you that. The chamber, the county, the city, it's awesome. It really is. In fact, where's Cindy Roth? Wearing white today, good Navy. Cindy Roth, Brian, Holly, are you here? Both of them just got off the plane yesterday evening, back in DC, fanning out with 18 others to advocate on behalf of transportation issues, educational issues, March, Corona, Ontario Airport. We're blessed to have, as a Navy leader, we're blessed to have some awesome support. By the way, when you graduate from Penn, I'd like you to consider coming aboard as a Navy scientist or engineer. So keep that in the back of your mind. And Dad and Mom, we can help pay for that. Hey, something that is already sweet because it's already complete is the impact that your Navy base, your Inland Empire Navy base, has on our nation's defense and also on our local economy. A lot of business owners in here, and so today I hope will really catch your attention. We're doing some exciting things like patent licensing, technology transfer, cooperative research and development agreements, not just with UCR or some of our universities, but also with business partners. So we'll talk about that today. All right, a couple news wire items, right? $300 million, he already stole my thunder, right? It's actually more than that. $300 million in a 20-mile radius of my headquarters, right? So, and that we picked that number because that's essentially where 75% of our workforce resides. There's another 25% out beyond that, and they do have an economic impact too. And it's also contracts, and we procure services and goods in a pretty significant way. Hey, we earned our contracting warrant. That's a lot of gobbledygook, but what that means is we can procure things all by ourselves. We don't, in the old days, even over a year ago, we had to go to other commands to help us with our contracting. Now it's right here. And I now have a deputy for small business that is a direct report whose job it is to nurture, sustain, help that small business, that community small business space. And we'll talk more about that in a second. By the way, I have a couple folks with me. Corey Shedd, he's my new XO. Diane Koslow is our Deputy Technical Director, longtime Riverside resident. Jennifer Stewart, I call her my chief disruptor because she helps us think differently. She's a Cal Baptist graduate, doing great work. And then, of course, Troy and my trusty photographer, who's also a Press Enterprise alumni, photographer for years. But anyway, Diane and I and senior leadership have welcomed 77 new scientists, engineers, technicians aboard since October 1st of this year. And they are awesome folks. They're diverse. They've got PhDs and master's degrees. Some of them have multiple degrees, right? We're seeing this awesome combination where you're getting a technical degree paired with a business degree, they're a force to be reckoned with. And many of those jobs, probably 50 of them, are new positions. We are at our highest end strength that we have been at least 10 years, if not longer, okay? So demand for our work is strong, and that hiring is representative of that. All right, and last but not least, we established a full-time technology office. Jennifer is part of that team, and we're going to talk about some of the things they've been working on. All right, next. I won't go all over this word. 1,500 local, pretty high tech, pretty high wage. But by the way, some of these folks could make a lot more money elsewhere. And so in their heart, it's about service. So anything you read about civil servants back in Washington, it's garbage. We've got some fantastic civil servants who serve their country each and every day, just in civilian clothes and not in Navy whites, but they make a great difference for our nation. And they could make money elsewhere, more money elsewhere. We're lucky to have them. And by the way, they stay here. Average CO, is much to Diane's chagrin, comes and goes every couple years, right? My departures probably will be in the July timeframe, after about a 3-year tour. But my civilian and scientists, they stay here for 10 or 20 or 30 or even 40 years. We just had somebody retire after 42 years recently, right? They're connected in the community. Their kids, you better believe it, do their homework, right? They're an asset to the community that's not really about economic impact. I call it the social and intellectual contribution. Next. All right. You know, my base, the one that Diane and Captain Shedd and I are privileged to lead, we don't have planes, right? So we're not as obvious. And so I bet you some of you have driven right down on Route 15 and maybe even missed the sign that says Naval Surface Warfare Center. Well, there's a lot of good stuff going on behind the scenes there. Today, we're hunting for, not me, but the Navy and countries around the world are hunting for that Malaysian airliner, Flight 370, right? A tragic loss. But you know what's interesting is some of the technology being used in that search is Navy, United States Navy technology, designed by warfare centers just like my own. And in fact, the P-8 aircraft, some of you may have read about that, has been doing some of the searching, the high altitude, very fast searching. There's technology on that plane that we helped give a report card to and get it all through, prove that it's working the right way. So it's neat to know that right here in the Inland Empire, we have something that is being used off the coast of Australia today. The Joint Strike Fighter, it's the largest DoD program. It's a national priority. It's a 6th-generation fighter aircraft, and 3 services, the Air Force, the Marine Corps, and the Navy, are buying that together with your help as a taxpayer, right? We were just asked by Navy leadership to help them make their quality program even better, right? So think about that. A national priority, your local lab, being asked to help them raise their game and improve it. That's pretty cool. This thing right here, this is a ship, and by the way, I served on that ship when I was an ensign in the United States Navy, and recently, as it was doing some testings for some new capability off the coast of San Diego, the target that was flying around hit the ship, and it was not supposed to do that. And so Dr. Lupke, Bill Lupke, who's my co-leader at the lab, senior co-leader, SES flag rank individual, he was asked by the Navy to lead that failure review board to figure out what happened, why, and how to prevent it from happening again. So again, another national kind of role that your Navy lab is playing. And I guess I'll just, in the interest of time, go right to here. Next slide, please. So behind the scenes always, and these are the types of questions we answer or ask and then hopefully answer. We're largely an intellectual, we typically don't build things. Sometimes we do, but typically it's does it fit properly? Are the measurements credible? Is it performing the way we need it to? That's $50, I think, the United Way. If I'm. How was that, Cindy? Was that your phone, Cindy? Sorry. The last one, and the most important question is, if, God forbid, we have to go to war, can we fight and win? And I guess if you go to the, would you play the video, Troy? So this next little video, go ahead. I know you're jealous, Mayor Bailey. You don't have any of these cool toys. This is actually an Army missile first. See that little launcher there? We built that launcher right there in Norco. If you're a terrorist, that's a bad day right there. Thank you. Actually, let me tell you a little bit about that story. In July 19th of 2011, I was asked to brief the head of the Navy. I had lots of help from lots of folks more senior to me, but on some ideas to strengthen our capabilities against very challenging kind of small boat threats. There's lots of folks that don't wish us any. They don't wish us well in some areas of the world. And so we were asked to innovate and create something and get some new capability out to some of our ships as fast as we can. So we took an Army missile used by Special Forces, and we modified that, and Navy labs just like ours teamed together along with industry and got something from concept to what you saw there in about a period of 2 years. And that's maybe faster than the 91 right there, right? So it seems like a long time, but it's all right. It is sweet. Go ahead. Can you go? All right. Next, will you go back to the PowerPoint? Yeah. All right. Okay. Let's talk money. This is fiscal year 11, right? And it's a little dated, but the message is the same. Significant dollars going to companies. Now, here's the problem. We need more of it to be local. Local is a competitive advantage for me, right? If I can buy something local and then get it to my customers, and we operate as a business, a nonprofit business. If I can get that product or those services and get it done and to my customers, when my customers are the Navy and the Marine Corps, that's a competitive advantage. We just awarded a nearly $400 million contract last week, and it wasn't to a local company, I'm sorry to say. So we need to change that together, right? And so Jennifer and some of her work, my deputy for small business, Captain Shedd, who by the way is a reservist activated and also a business owner, how about that, right? So we're trying to, now that we have some of the new authorities and the new capabilities we have, we want to do more stuff that's local. By the way, I'm also required by law to set aside a certain amount of our contracts to go to small businesses, veteran-owned, minority-owned, disabled veteran-owned, all those kinds of things. I try to be a law-abiding citizen, so with the exception of that $41 parking ticket I got last week, parked outside the Mission Inn at 20 minutes after 9, I'm not complaining, I'm just mad that I got caught. The law is on the side of small businesses, and we can work together and be better together in this regard. Okay, next. All right, where we are today. This isn't perfect, right? I would offer the universities, the governmental organizations, the non-governmental organizations, the business community in Riverside, you are pretty tight, right? The problem is, and our challenge, and I think we're going to overcome that challenge together, is that some of the things they're researching at Cal Baptist or UCR or whatever it is, Cal Poly Pomona, whatever, it's not necessarily the same stuff I'm working on, right? So I need them to shape my thinking and make me more competitive, but I can also, through the power of the purse and the power of persuasion maybe, we can work together and be better, right? Same with businesses. I talked to you about how much money goes out of state or out of the area. We can change that. Right? But we got to go together, thoughtfully, deliberately, together, right? Next. And so I love that little chicklet in the middle. See, that's nirvana. When it all comes together, a lot of things become possible, right? And so for about a year and a half, we've been working these types of things, right? Let me tell you some, we signed 3 weeks ago, our first patent licensing agreement. That's an awesome thing. What we did is transferred technology that was paid for by the taxpayer to a local Norco company. And that technology is incredibly marketable. I guarantee you, that president and I talked yesterday, he's talking to places like SpaceX, he's talking to places like Boeing. Roger, if you know anybody over there, let me know, right? He's talking to companies that want what we just shared with them. And by the way, small amount of royalties go to some of our hard-working civil servants who could make a lot more money elsewhere. It's a great retention, recruiting kind of tool for them. Mom and Dad, you taking notes, right? The cool thing is that company actually brought intellectual capital to the table, something worth almost $1 million. And I don't get it, I'm getting it for nothing, right? And so all of my customers, Navy and Marine Corps customers, are benefiting from that improvement. And then he, of course, and his customers, this is American Technical Services, the CEO's name is Alan Petrosian. So the two of us are together better, right? To plagiarize from the mayor, right? So that's our first patent licensing, and I promise there's more to come. Cooperative research and development agreements, we signed one earlier this year, out of state, right? We're also now working with folks like Dr. Imran Farouk, some of our companies, and seeing if there's some local cooperative research and development agreements. Again, that's a way where each of us brings something to the table. Money, intellectual capital, our network, right? And we're better together. Partnership intermediary agreements, I think we're pursuing one of those right now with the county, right? And a few others, right, Jennifer? And I can't spill all the beans because it's not a done deal, but I will say this. I believe it's going to fund an entrepreneur in residence who is from the community, and that person will work inside your Navy lab to facilitate and accelerate technology transfer from the Navy, from us, out to the business community. And that's going to be a game changer and a catalyst for additional things like we're talking about. We talked about local training and procurement, small business innovative research. A number of community leaders from Norco, Riverside, and Corona, business leaders, university leaders, Dean Reza Abbasian from UCR. We all went up to Crane, Indiana to see a sister warfare center of ours and the power of collaboration. And they've been working on some of the things we've been working on for about a year. They've been working on it for about 7 or 8. It is awesome to see in action, right? $58 million in fiscal year 12 went to small businesses in the vicinity of Crane, Indiana. And the money comes from, it's my favorite kind of money, which is other people's money. It comes from Washington, and it's earmarked and goes, and not in a bad way, it is set aside for small businesses, right? We have not been doing that as much as we should be, right? And when they do that, the company benefits, the Navy lab that they're partnering with benefits, the universities they're partnering with benefit. It's a win-win-win. So anyway, I love this slide. I could talk about it all day. Next. Okay, I think this is my last slide. So we're, if you haven't figured out, looking for partners. And we need partners to strengthen the pool of local goods and services. I want to buy local. It's a competitive advantage. And it's a win for the community, and it's a win for me, right? So I need your help with that. Now, I don't buy a lot of alfalfa. I live in Norco, or work in Norco, right? So I don't buy a lot of alfalfa and hay and kind of the horse side, but I need more technical support, right? I'll use another example. We recently, this is kind of a mundane example, advertised for $200,000 worth of moving services, right? The 2 companies that applied were from San Diego, and we had to award it to one of them. So I know there's folks with strong backs and a desire to move furniture now and then in the Inland Empire, right? So that's an example. But it takes time to become a company that is able to do business with the federal there is some bureaucracy, right? There is some red tape. But the cool thing is there's organizations like Riverside Community College District's Office of Economic Development. They have a DoD-funded procurement assistance center, and their job it is to teach and mentor companies to do business. Even for my fleet of credit card buyers to go out and buy a box of paper or hammers or whatever it is, and more high-tech stuff than that, right? But when just to buy from one of those companies, they have to be registered in the government system. So anyway, we're partnering to try to get, to kind of raise our game in this area. The second, we're looking for partners to help us facilitate our ability to harness the power of technology in support of the warfighter. So that patent licensing, the warfighter benefits, right? The taxpayer benefits and the community benefits, right? We think we can do more of that, and the entrepreneur residence is going to help us with that. Next. And then here, hopefully, shared value, right? A vision for collective success. And we don't have the answer. We only have one perspective. We've been blessed to have some great partners over this last couple years and many years before, but certainly the business side of things that we're talking about today is pretty new. So, and I think that's it. We're better together. I call that coronaflage, right? So that's not, you know, camouflage. And those are faces of our hard-working folks. So we're on watch. We're helping our Navy stay #1 in the world, and I appreciate all your support, the community support that makes that possible. Okay, thank you, sir.